Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker. Today we are here with Dean from MotoMaxSuspension in his wee workshop, and what we're going to do...
Very wee.
there's 4 bikes in here, one of them is Bertha.
Four too many.
What we're doing today is we're going to be doing some work on the CBF, but first this is a short video just to walk you around his workshop and...
You don't need to walk.
Spin. We're going to spin slowly, and you can talk us through what you do, why you do it, and... I suppose you could lash out a few things like that. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, so I've started the MotoMax suspension services about, I'd say 6 months ago now, actually having it as a actual suspension specialist kind of thing. Been doing bikes for the last 10 and decided to just kind of specialise in one thing and obviously enjoy doing suspension, and that was kind of the start of it. Yeah, it's been going pretty well. Been kind of lashing out a lot of kind of maybe track bikes and race bikes and stuff, but trying to do a little bit of road stuff as well, so that's where your lovely machine comes in.
Which we just had a look at this front suspension on it. Now I knew it was bad, right? to get it out there, I'm pretty certain that's original fluids and everything in there, right? And the springs from factory on that are mush.
Yeah.
But we had a good laugh at how bad it is.
It's horrendous.
So we'll get to.
I thought that bike just really nose down, but no, it's just fucking no fluid left in it.
It feels pretty bad on the road. Anyway, so do you want to walk us around your shop?
Yeah. So this here is our inventory slash what's being done. So we have kind of shocks in progress, stuff they're already done waiting to be picked up. Up top we have kind of all cartridges that are spares from kind of stuff that people are replacing with kind of either K-Tech stuff or the Angiani stuff. Down here are springs of a selection of kind of different springs we have in stock, and we get anything in. That's just stuff I keep here. Again, bushings, seals, oil. That there's kind of the workbench now. That's kind of where everything gets done there. That's our shock and fork compressor for getting all springs and fork springs off easily enough.
Nice little sticker on it there as well.
Yeah. Don't get that sticker down there. That's not for me. They didn't pay for advertising. Yeah, that's kind of just tooly stuff. Again, same thing. That's just workbench tools. Yeah, other than that, then that's kind of this more so just a messy workbench for stuff in the mini lathe. That there we check spring rates on, so it can tell you what spring rate if you don't have a marking or anything on your spring. Yeah, other than that, that's kind of just the general messy area. That's kind of for servicing, kind of messy stuff for polishing or doing stuff like that on forks or any machine work or something like that. But it's mainly that stuff over there then is more so for suspension side of things. Have this bench here for the projects. And yeah, other than that, it's kind of fairly not a lot of room.
And why should people bring, say, their bikes to you to do their forks and do their suspension? Because obviously, I know how bad shocks and forks can be if they're stock and not built for a bigger person.
Yeah, it's
set up for someone.
It's dependent. You know, you'll have some, like obviously the guys that are racing on track days, it's easier because again, it's a high performance kind of application, and when stuff isn't perfect, you know straight away, you can tell. More so for road use is just generally you should get your stuff done just on a you know, yearly basis, even if you're doing quite high miles, just even fluid changes. You're looking then, it's hard for people that say have a bike for a very long time and don't quite tell, you know, this is gone or this isn't as good as it should be, or you know, it's if you have a bike for 5 years and it's never been done, it probably needs to be done. Or even if, say, you're, you know, quite heavy, if you're over, say, kind of the 100 kilogram mark or under the 70 kilogram mark, the stock springs probably aren't going to be there, like, done for you. Most bike spring rates are done for kind of 75 to 80 kilogram range, but even then, there's a massive variation between them. So, you know, if you're doing your commuter and that type of stuff, then obviously, you know, it's not as important for your spring rates and all that type of stuff. But if you're doing touring or if you're doing high miles and you want something that's comfortable, your springs are a much bigger factor then, because again, especially with luggage and stuff like that, you need the extra spring rate, otherwise you're just going to bottom out on everything straight away. You know, barring that, if you have a sport bike, generally kind of anything sporty at all, most of the time the shocks have never been done, you know yourself. Like,
yeah, as I found out the hard way.
Yeah, like the same thing that most people don't do OEM shocks. So the OEM shocks are usually never ever done, and of all the IM stuff I strip, I haven't seen yet one that's been done before.
Right.
So if you have a sport bike that's from the 90s or 2000s, like there's a fairly modern CBR 600 in there, a few days ago, that was 2013, 2014, and took the shock out of that, and it was really bad nick. You know, we were checking, basically I was doing a setup, and
10 years old.
Yeah, and the stiction on it was sticking really, really badly, just because the bushing was in really bad nick, and that's only a 9-year-old bike.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're have anything yourself like an SRAD or a ZX-7 or something like that and has the stock stuff in it, it would probably need to be done regardless. And, you know, obviously my little plug is there's no one else around that does the show stuff or the KYBs or anything like that. They kind of, you know yourself from looking, they want to sell you a brand new fancy one, but
it's not even they want to sell you a brand new fancy one. So I'm not going to name names or bash anyone, but you can if you like. So after I crashed the SRAD, I said it in a video that I wasn't going to bring the bike back to track until I got a new shock. And Dean actually did reach out to me after that video, but before he reached out to me, I had actually reached out, and before I crashed it, which is an awful pity I didn't know you were there, because
you could blame me for crashing.
I couldn't. Well, I might never have crashed it, which would have been nicer. But I reached out to a few companies based in Ireland, and one of them said absolutely not, can't rebuild it. Which was my question: can I rebuild this and respring it? And he said no, can't rebuild that stock shock. And another company who I rang several times, emailed, left a message through their messaging system, has still to get back to me nearly a year later. And WhatsApp. And I WhatsApped him because his phone numbers, everything's up there. So, and if anyone wants to know who these people are, I've no problem telling you one-to-one, so send me a message on Instagram or whatever. I just don't, I'm not here to bash anyone, except Dean.
Yeah.
But, you know, in general, I think it is good that you're there to do it. And in fairness, now, I shouldn't probably say this because it's going to come back to bite me, but he's very affordable for what he's doing.
Too affordable.
Sling him an extra 50. But he is, like, realistic. If you look what's out there in comparison to what's brand new and what it costs to get something done with Dean, like, I know, obviously you could correct me here if I'm wrong, but maybe you're not getting, like, if I was to go for a brand new Maxton, you know, rebuilding my stock shock, it's probably not the same thing.
No, like,
but it's better.
There's like, you have to look at what the application is at the end of the day, you know. There are, you know, say at Mondello, there's 2 or 3 bikes out there that are still on the stock suspension that are doing 152s. Like my Aprilia is on stock suspension still. Yeah. And it's just been worked on and done over time. So it's not, like, I would say it's not until you're at quite a high level that realistically is going to be a massive difference. The quality obviously isn't going to be as good. Like if you get a CNC shock, it's, you know, versus a cast shock, you know, the actual quality isn't the same. But if you look at, you know, there's shocks out there that are aftermarket units, again, I won't go into who, but that I would consider worse than the standard shock.
Okay.
There's some kind of cheapo equivalents that you go out there and you look at, and just the design of them, they're not a great design. Yeah. And they look lovely and fancy and new and fresh, but at the end of the day, you're actually downgrading.
Right.
You know, you have bikes that have like a piggyback reservoir, nitrogen reservoir, and the ones you're getting then have a little internal reservoir and almost no oil in them. Yeah. You know, so, you know, if you know the shocks, you know what I'm talking about. But because it's stock doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I think that's what a lot of people think. A lot of people think, oh, it's a standard shock, it's not great.
It's just not set up.
It's just not set up for you. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't have the right spring in it. More than likely, it doesn't have the right spring in it. Again, the valving we can change quite a lot. A lot of showers are quite digressive. So there's a lot of damping, and then as it falls through the stroke, the damp gets less. Okay. So it's initially really stiff where you want the flexibility, the grip, and then it kind of falls through the stroke.
It's the opposite of what you want.
It's the opposite of what you want, yeah. But that's how they set them up, obviously, for road use to feel nice supported, and then drop to the stroke. But obviously for hard road use or track use, that's no good for you. Yeah. But we can change that. You're looking at, but the main thing is it's the cost to performance ratio that I look at. You know, you look at, you know, any big brand shock for something really, really nice, you're talking about €1,000. You know,
it is at least.
You know, from 1,000 to whatever you want to spend. But generally, if you want a really high end stuff, you're talking about €1,000. There are stuff again that are kind of middle of the range, €500-600. That again,
the cheapest I found for the Gixxer that was equivalent, not even better, just the equivalent setup, was like £780, and that was a Maxton.
Yeah.
So that's €850.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Which.
And that's again, is that including the spring rate and stuff like that, or is that, do you have to get the spring separate?
No. You ordered for your weight.
Yeah. So you're looking at, that's, how much is that in euro then?
850.
Yeah.
So nearly a grand.
Yeah, the bones are grand.
And that was just a standard shock.
Yeah, that's not even a super duper mega. Yeah. You're gonna do great lap time shock.
Well, I'm never going to do great lap times. Well, you know.
Yeah, let's see. Again, the big bike for a while. But yeah, you look at a standard shock then for a rebuild, you're going from 160 to 200 euros depending on the brand, and it's more so what it costs me to get stuff in.
Yep.
And then you're looking at a brand new springs, you're talking about 100 quid or so. Okay. You know, sometimes less. So you compare that, and that will get you 8/10 the way there. If you want to then spend the 1,500 euros or so, then that'll be at your 10/10. But you have to be
using it.
You have to be mindful. Are you going to actually use that extra 20% damping and stuff like that? And you know, I know I wouldn't be realistically. You know, and you have to be at quite a decent level until you can feel that difference. But again, a lot of the stuff is the bling factor at the same time. And if you want a nice new shiny shock,
go for it. Yeah, you can afford it and you want it. Why not?
Exactly.
Most of us can't.
And personally, I love working on stuff like Olin's and K-Tech, stuff like that. It's lovely to work on because they're all done to be totally rebuildable and you can get anything for them. The stock stuff is a bit more intensive time-wise in doing it because I have to get in and machine stuff down sometimes to fit. You can't just ring up and say, I have an R6 40mm shock, can I get rebuild kit for it? You don't do it. You have to buy stuff that will fit and kind of make it work that way. And that's probably why a lot of companies don't want to do it.
They don't want the thinking time.
Yeah, it's easier for them just to sell you a new one than it is to do it. Whereas, you know, I've been doing shocks for a good while on my own stuff and learned what way to do it, what to order, what to get in, what stuff works, what stuff doesn't work. And I'm able to transfer that now into standard stuff. But that's not saying like I can still do pretty much all the aftermarket stuff there. And they are lovely to work on, but it's just thinking, do I need it? You know, if you want it, go ahead, buy it. But if it's more so you're looking even just for a refresh, just even for a road bike, just to have it that's a little bit nicer and a little bit fresher. And when you're driving it, it's not just going through a stroke and everything's on the spring, because over time, as stuff breaks down, you know yourself, as oil breaks down like in an engine, it just doesn't provide the damping support anymore. And that's the biggest thing I do see, is that the oil breaks down quite a lot, and then stuff like your bushings and everything like that then start getting worn out quite a lot because they're not getting the viscosity through the oil anymore. You're then running through the stroke really, really quickly. And again, it feels horrible. And
it does feel horrible.
Yeah. You of all people should know how bad it is. And on top of that, then you're wearing through the components even quicker.
And it feels it. And one thing that I've noticed on that one particularly, and it helps that I know, no, obviously not to the same extent as you, but I know what's going on in the front end. Yeah. Like if someone else felt how that feels out in the road on rough roads, they'd probably think there's something really, really wrong with the bike, or the tires are really out of balance, or it has something in it. But it's actually just your forks aren't doing their job anymore. Yeah. So they just feel terrible. Yeah. And that's the thing, is when your forks don't feel great, it's everything else feels terrible. You know, the kind of way, like at the end of the day, your tires touch the ground, and then from then they go through your suspension and into your seat basically, and into your handlebar and stuff like that. And if that's not 100%, or if that's feeling a bit off, then the whole bike feels off, obviously, you know. And that's you can't trust. The big thing for me is you can't trust front end braking or anything anymore, because it just feels wrong. It might be absolutely fine, but it feels terrible. So you're just not going to rely on it. Like. Like again, if you're literally on a little GM125 and you're going in and out town, stuff like that, you probably won't notice. But for anything that's in any way weighty or has a bit of power there, you're trying to stop, or has like, you know, especially the initial part when you're braking and you're going through that a bit of stroke there, you'll notice massively if it's not right. And it will just feel like it's just falling through, and all of a sudden, boom, you know, you'll get the spring rate and all hitting in quite hard, but your initial stroke is going to feel terrible if your oil is really bad, especially in a fork that's a damper rod setup. They are super kind of reliant on their oil, because there's not valving or anything like that for it to go. It's if that oil goes off, your actual. I don't think there's oil in there. I think it's cream. I don't think it's cream. I don't think there's anything in it. We'll find out soon. That was an introduction into what Dean does, I suppose. And no, not really. Actually, have you seen my videos? No, I haven't actually. They're long. So basically, what we're going to do now is the CBF. So if you watch, thank you very much for watching. If you have any interest in reaching out to Dean to get work done, how do they find you? You just shine a light up in the sky. Are you like that, man? Yeah, you like MotoMax symbol, you just turn up their door. That'd be pretty creepy, actually. Just like, shine lights like, hey, I'm here for your forks.
Good, give you service.
What'd be really funny though is because the light is quite big, if you turned up at like their neighbour's house and it's like, hey, I like your forks, and some poor old woman hands you over a cut, and you're like, sorry.
I'd rather work on that.
Don't rob me.
Yeah, if you need to
Need
reach
more
out.
precision.
What are we talking about?
I don't know.
Yeah, if you need to reach out, again, Facebook, Instagram, if you search MotoMaxSuspension on Google either. Any of those, that has all my contact info on it. If you want to message me or message my phone or call me or talk shit for a few hours, yeah.
They can do that.
They can do that, yeah.
A special thank you as always to my patrons who helped fund the Hyper Pro springs that we're putting into the front end of this bike. And yeah, until next time, thank you again for watching. Adios. Outro crew. He was actually nice, wasn't he? Usually he just abused me, calls me names. Maybe he knows it's because I'm editing the videos.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do this. Just do the video and then send you on your own. Bye.